本周的娱乐新情报又有大来宾来到我们的节目当中了，他就是我们的外派小记者 Angela 同学，欢迎，
欢迎
大家好，大家好。
那我们这次呢，就是华语电视派出 Angela 前往采访 Race Hell The Life and Times of Molly Ivins 的这部纪录片的导演。那我们其实都知道 Molly Ivins 是1970到2000年代非常有名的这个专栏作家。
对，没错，以这个他的幽默和口才著称啊。
那 Angela 要不要跟我们介绍一下 Molly Ivins 这部纪录片？
这片纪录片是讲 Molly Ivins， 她是一个美国非常有名的记者。她最独特的特点就是她的幽默的方式来解释这些政府的问题啊，社会的问题，
这些政治因素和这些政治局势，
对
对，
是。那这个导演的原因，来提到 Molly Ivins， 是因为我们现在的国家很分裂，就是因为川普现在在当总统嘛，所以他觉得就讲到 Molly Ivins 是很重要的，是让提醒我们年轻人需要去投票啊，还要去关注，还要再多听新闻，多了解我们现在的情况是想怎么样。
那接下来就是虽然 Molly Ivins 他在2007年就去世，那他现代啊有谁是受他影响，或是谁会是下个 Molly Ivins？
所以其实我有问这个导演这个问题，然后他自己觉得是我们现在的 talk show 的主持人，这些人虽然他们也不是
政治圈的，
对，他们
不是
政治圈
的，
对，他们是做娱乐的，但是他们讲的方式就很像 Molly Ivins， 就是他们
反讽的方式，
有一种讽刺的这种口吻。
对，所以比较多人会关注他们，然后就他们讲的方式就让年轻人可能比较容易消化。对，
接下来我们就来看一下 Angela 跟导演做采访的片段吧。
All right, I have come to cheer y'all up about the state of politics in this great nation.
What's your take on Newt, the draft-dodging, dope-smoking, deadbeat dad who divorced his dying wife?
We keep pretending that the political spectrum runs from right to left. It doesn't. It runs from top to bottom. It's not those people in Washington. It's not those people in your state capital. This country is run by us.
Joining us, Ms. Janice Engel. I just had the opportunity to watch your documentary, Raise Hell, by The Life and Times of Molly Ivins. Could you tell us why it's so important, though, for everyone else to know about Molly Ivins?
Sure, absolutely. Molly Ivins is incredibly relevant right now. And in some cases, I've said she's even more relevant now than perhaps when she was alive. And I've gotten some flack for that, but that's because things are that much worse. So, Molly was incredibly brilliant, but also wildly funny. She spoke truth to power, and she gave voice to those that didn't have a voice, but she used humor to bridge the divide. And that is the key. You have to, she always said, she knew that humor, Jim Hightower, who's in my film, said Molly knew that humor was the door key to the brain. You got to unlock that little door to actually get people to listen to you. And if you think about it, when people are being funny, you actually stop and think, because what makes you laugh is you've actually thought about the joke.
Were you ever worried that maybe the use of humor would make people not take you as seriously with things being as dire as they are today? How did you sort of strike that balance between humor and seriousness?
Well, that's Molly. Molly had a huge constituency, and we tapped into it. So people knew her humor. She was a columnist. She, at the height of her power, she was in over 400 newspapers. She was a pundit before there were pundits. People came to her for her humor because she was so very funny. She was Twitter ready back in the 80s and 90s when it wasn't even there.
Molly just had this amazing sense of wonder and persistence. How did she keep going? How did she not give up, even in the face of cancer, even in the face of her alcoholism?
Well, I didn't know her personally, but I do think that she had no choice. I think, her path was to speak truth to power and give voice to those that didn't have one. And she loved her state. She loved the state of Texas. But she really loved people. So we're in a time right now where we're very polarized. And we're not listening. We're not listening to each other. And we're not finding common ground to find our shared humanity. Everybody has a right to health care, to education, to basic human rights. We can all agree upon that. One of the other really important part of this documentary is one of the greatest quotes I ever heard was from a Holocaust survivor. One of the survivors, Hans Lowenbach, may he rest in peace, said one of the greatest quotes I've ever heard. Evil does not need your help, just your indifference. I was there when evil was ruling. And he said it again, evil does not need your help, just your indifference. And that is the big evil. When you are indifferent, when you don't care, when you're apathetic, that's evil seeping in. It's very boring, it's very subtle, but it seeps in, and you're how could you not care? It's how we live our lives, what we do, involves politics. And that is, as Molly would say, the warp and woof of our lives. You must care.
Who can we turn to nowadays to sort of look up to in the same light that other people looked up to Molly Ivins for?
Well, so everybody goes for the humor. They go to all the comedians. And they go for, political analysis. They go to their certain networks, whether it's, CNN or it's MSNBC or it's even Fox. I asked everybody who's the next Molly Ivins. And people would always say the comedians, or they'd say this one, or they'd say that one. And I've come to the conclusion after working on this, we just passed our 7-year mark. We finished it in 6.5.
Congratulations.
6.5 years. That's a long journey. So when I've asked that question, nobody could answer it. And I've come to my own conclusion. If you were to take the comedians, so say Samantha Bee, John Oliver, Trevor Noah, sprinkle a little Colbert and Stewart on top, mix that with Chris Hayes and Rachel Maddow, you'd have one Molly Ivins. But there really is no one Molly Ivins. And I think that if you go to see my film, that you will see at the end there's a whole swath of young people in the streets banging their pots and pans, raising hell, as Molly would say, to do what's needed to make change, because this is a democracy. We the people. It's up to us to do the heavy lifting. And if you look at all that footage, it's all young people. Those, each and every one of them, they're all the next Molly Ivins.
What else besides voting, what else besides maybe active listening do you think people worldwide can do to just make the world a better place?
Pay attention to what's going on with the people that you give power to. I think the biggest issue we have going on is that we don't talk to each other. Put down your phones. This is why I tell my students, put down your phones, your devices, go outside, look up, breathe. There's a blue sky out there. Take a walk. Engage with somebody. Do an act of kindness for another human being. We don't communicate with each other. How do we know how the other person lives, how the other person feels? That is our shared humanity.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for having us at SinoTV.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Us. Somebody has got to look them in the eye and speak truth. And she did.